quick kind of touch base meetings that we'll have 3 or 4 times throughout the semester. They give us an opportunity just to kind of catch up and make sure everything's going okay, that everybody knows what's coming up, that kind of stuff. So nothing particularly scary or things to worry about. It's just kind of where are we and is there any way that I can help you? So today's kind of just a reminder of some of the things that are happening in the next week and where you should be up to, and just checking whether you are in fact up to that. So let us start with our project manager, which is Kim Long. Who's our project? No, not project manager, client liaison, sorry.
Yeah.
That's you?
Yeah, that's me. Yeah.
All right, so what we would want from our client liaison is for you to have made contact with your client and set up or conducted a first meeting. Where are we with that?
So we last conducted a meeting with him on Monday.
You already have?
Yeah,
Right.
on Monday morning. Yeah. So we have chatted with him about the specifications of the project.
Awesome.
Yeah. So he's had given out some of the resources that are required in the project also for us to like look into stuff, because at first we thought that the project would be not too complicated, but after the meeting there was a lot of stuff that we had to get on.
I'm very pleased that you've run that already. That's really good. So how did you record that meeting or collect the data?
Yeah. So.
Did you audio record it or something?
Yeah, we had a recording of the.
That's really important to do for a number of reasons, so that you don't forget, basically. What you'll also do as a client liaison is at the end of every client meeting, I want you to create just a summary document, like a minutes template. It doesn't have to be very complicated. But the 4 things I want you to document that are, what were the major topics what were the major conversation topics of the meeting?
Yeah.
What were the decisions that came out of that meeting? Because we don't want to just run a meeting for no reason. We have to make sure something's come out of it.
Yeah.
What tasks have been generated because of this meeting, and who's responsible for completing those tasks? So those 4 things. Just create that on a template or whatever. And then what I want you to do is send a copy to your team so everybody remembers. Send a copy to your client so they remember, particularly if there are items that they have to do stuff on. And then on Milo there is a meetings, minutes of meetings Dropbox in your group thing. And so just drop it in there as well.
Yeah.
So that means I can check week by week what you've been working on with your client and keep up to date rather than having to meet you all the time. I can just read your documents. So that's something you'll do every time there's a client meeting. To our project manager, you'll do something similar. So every time you have a big group meeting, so not every time you talk on Discord or anything like that, but every time you have the once a week face-to-face group meeting, what I want you to do is run it so that everybody has an opportunity to show accountability and responsibility. So what I mean by that is you'll start your meeting and you'll say, okay, last week we decided these are the things and these are the people that had to do it. And we'll start with you and we'll say, can you talk to your item? Have you done it? Is it complete?
Yeah.
And then you'll show it to everybody or whatever you want to do. And then everybody gets to talk about whether it's been done appropriately, whether it's been done of a good enough quality, whether it was done on time. If it hasn't been done, is there anything else the rest of us can do to help you and understand the issues? And then we'll go, great, thank you very much, and we'll go on to you and we'll say, what were you going to do this week? And you'll say, oh, I did this thing and I'm a bit late because of whatever. Everyone will go, okay, well, how are we going to help you or whatever? And we'll go to you and you said, oh, amazing, and I did everything on time and did 3 times as much stuff, and everyone's super happy. But what it does is give everyone an opportunity to explore their week with the team, tell everybody what's been going on, explain if things aren't going well, and then you as a team get to understand and help that person, which is what we want. So that's what you'll do at the start of the meeting. Then you'll talk about whatever else has to happen, but then you'll finish the meeting by saying, okay, well, what are the tasks everybody's responsible for the next week? You'll do a task allocation. And then everybody will get a task or a set of tasks, and they will get a time to do it, and that will be documented. So I need you to put that on a similar document, a template, whatever. And then you send that to everybody so everybody remembers, or you put it on a Dropbox or a repository or whatever. And then you also put it into the Dropbox on Milo. So again, I can week by week see who's meant to be doing what. Is somebody doing it on time?
But I can't find a job post at Milo.
On Milo.
Yeah. The assignment.
Hold on.
I can't find.
point, I will fix that.
I want to do that, but I cannot find it.
No, you made an excellent point.
Thank you.
Let me just see, weirdly, it's turned up in a different place. You are my climate futures team. Climate futures portable. Where are you? Climate futures. That one. That's right, it is missing. Thank you very much for that. I will fix that up. List of things. Excellent. All right. So there will be a place to put them. So Dropbox minutes. Great. So yeah, you just pop that in there, and that helps everybody remember what they were meant to do, be accountable for it week by week. And that's important for me to know what everybody's doing. It's important for you to keep track of, because when you submit at the end of each cycle, you're going to be doing a peer review, which means you're assessing each other. And if you don't remember what everybody's done, that's okay. You'll have these documents to remind you about what everybody's working on. So that's what you will do as project manager as well.
I will do that.
Great. In terms of putting the document together, so who is our documentation lead? It's you, is that right? Is it? Okay, so what have you done in terms of preparing for that and getting everybody ready for a template or a shared place? What's your plan?
So my plan is already the client liaison give us the tasks for the first initiation report.
Yeah, so you've created the template for everybody?
Yeah, template for everybody to in a Dropbox.
Yep.
Yeah, so that they can submit the required tasks have been given to each of the persons.
That's great.
Yeah.
So that's really important, because everybody's going to be working at different hours of the day and night, and based on availability, I want you to make sure that when you're ready and you can make contributions to that document. Your job is also going to make not just make sure the content goes in, but it's an appropriate design. So we're not looking for anything that looks like an assignment. It's a professional style business report. So we want you to find examples and templates and create your structure that makes it really engaging and interesting, and it has all of the characteristics of that kind of report. In addition to the shared stuff, makes something that's really attractive that you can drop all of the new data into. That'll be something that you work
One
on.
more thing for the initiation report, is there any particular word limit for the
No, there's no word or page limit, because every single project is different. Some are really small and they don't have a lot to write about. Some are really big and they have lots to write about. So what I'm looking for in the assignment marking sheet is comprehensive detail as appropriate to your context. So when you show me a version of your thing, I'll be able to see, oh, you haven't really explored this in much detail, or that's perfectly fine because you're a small business that's doing whatever. Given your particular context, you don't, because he's based at the university, you don't have to give us everything about the university, but you'll kind of describe his research group and his research projects and the kinds of things he likes to do and who he works with. That's not going to be very big at all. So yours will probably be slightly smaller in those kinds of things, but you might get bigger reports later on. So it's about the context. So just write as much as you can about the stuff that you have available. That's all. So moving on to the actual submissions, just a reminder, they are due next week. And there are 3 parts, and if you miss any of them, you don't get a mark at all. And this is a 25% assignment, so it's really important you do it all and you understand it all. So next Thursday, there is a group Dropbox that you will put your group report in, that one, and everybody has access to that to make sure it's okay, the submission's perfect. And in addition to that, on the Thursday, you will also create your own self-review and put that into the group Dropbox as well. Now, the self-review is just your own personal reflection on what you've been doing over the last 3 weeks and what's worked for you and what hasn't worked for you. It's entirely okay for you to go, I'd like to be better at something, or I'd like to learn a little bit more about that, or I wasn't quite sure about something. And so you will put as much detail as you can on that document, because that will help me understand your situation and also your teammates. So that's something that you have to do on the Thursday and put it into the group. At about 5 o'clock, that Dropbox will close for submissions, but you'll still be able to see it. And then what that means is then you go into that and look at everybody else's self-review. And so you will get an understanding about what they've said they've been working on. what they're trying to do in terms of improving, and you'll get some perspective on their own style of work. On the Friday, what is due is your peer assessment, and this is where you get to assess your teammates. Now, I'm not looking for you to say everything is perfect and amazing and I love these people. That's not what peer review is about. It's an opportunity for you to identify through me, so to me, not to them, that there are areas that you suggest that they could improve on. So if they're always just a little bit late, you say that, and I'll go, well, we're going to have to talk about that. Or you'll say the quality of the work is not okay, it's not good enough, somebody has to waste their other time to do their work. So what you will do is in your peer assessment, you will look at their documents and you will agree or disagree with what they've said about the amount of work that they've done and what they've led and stuff. So it's entirely okay for you to go, I don't think they did that actually, I'm not sure. You can communicate that to me. And then you will go through the criteria that's also on the template and say whether you'd score them. Have they always turned up in meetings? Do they have a good positive attitude? Are they just sitting around in meetings and not saying anything? That kind of stuff. That helps me understand how better to help that person. Nobody is going to fail because somebody says they can do better. We expect you all to not be great at the start and to get better. So just saying that somebody needs a little bit of help is perfectly okay. It's what good responsibility to your team means. So please be really comfortable about doing that because it only comes to me. So you've got to make sure you put it in the individual Dropbox because otherwise everybody will be able to see it if you put it in the group one. So put it in the individual one, okay. And getting ready for that and getting ready for next week, when you have done your meetings with your client and collected all of that data and started to put your document together, when it's about 80% done and you've all looked at it, you've all reviewed it, and you're all pretty happy with it so far, then you send it to me. And then you ask me, so probably your project manager will send me an email saying, can we have 15 minutes to review the document with you? I'm very happy to go through it and say this needs fixing, this isn't okay, this is better, blah, blah, that kind of stuff. Because we have a public holiday on Monday, it's best if you want to book that in like Friday or Tuesday. I have consultation on Wednesday, but because it's due on Thursday, that's not a huge amount of time for you to fix any big things, okay? So when you're ready, send me an email, or you can send me an email earlier than that and actually just book a time, because I've got 20 projects doing exactly the same. But that is where I can give you feedback way before the submission date, okay? Your client, let me just double check. Tom has not. Okay, so Tom has identified that he would like to retain intellectual property, which means intellectual property means who owns the project once it's finished. And given that it is his research group and he's initiated the idea, he wants to retain it, which means you don't get to do anything with it afterwards. So your project manager, what I'll need you to do is send me an email and ask for the intellectual property template. I will send that back to you and you as a team work through it and make sure that you're comfortable with the basic conditions, which means after the project, Tom gets to retain it. And then you sign it and people sign it and then you just send a copy back to me. It's a very standard document that our UTAS governance people have created for us and things like that. Don't sign anything unless you're really comfortable with it and you've actually read it. It's not an absolute requirement, but it's just a setting the scene of understanding early for your project.
Thank you.
Okay. So because he said yes, you'll need to send me an email. All right. We've only got a few minutes left together. Is there anything I can actually help you with right now? Go ahead.
Yeah, there's on the initiation report. There's a thing about cost.
Yes.
We think that.
Oh, did you send me an email this morning?
No.
No. Okay, forget that. Somebody else asked the same question. Yep.
We think everything's going to be free. So should we just write like a?
Okay, so in project management, there's direct costs and opportunity costs.
Yeah.
Direct costs are things you have to pay for, like you need to get a virtual server and I need to pay some people and whatever. Invariably for this there will be no direct costs unless you are recommending they buy something to make it go. So if there are no direct costs, you just write that, just say it's anticipated that there are no direct costs for this project. There are, however, things called indirect costs, which means you are essentially paying for things in a different way. So for example, your client is going to be spending 26 hours with you as opposed to 26 hours on his academic work, and that is a cost to the institution. So that is an indirect cost that you will quote, and you'll say, you know, 26 hours at whatever his salary is, and he can estimate it for you, doesn't have to give you actual numbers, is likely to be that. So the project cost will be the time that he has, the time that his research team is also spending with you as stakeholders and things like that. So while there may be no direct costs, there are always indirect costs when somebody has to take time from one thing to another thing. There also might be indirect costs in terms of their school having to give you time on their supercomputer to do some processing of whatever. I don't know what it's going to be. So just think about what, or ask him what he can't do because he's doing this, and get him to estimate. Estimates are perfectly fine. How much that might generally cost.
Okay.
You don't have to investigate it or make it up. Get some estimates from him.
Sure.
So it's perfectly okay. It doesn't cost, but there still are costs.
Yep.
If that makes sense.
Yep. And there was another bit just before that about time. So
Yep.
I think we just have to follow the deadlines of this unit. So
Yeah,
what should we write
yeah.
about
So
there?
at this stage, because you'll be doing a release schedule and a scope thing later on in the
Okay.
next report, but for now what I'm interested in is I want you to articulate, because this document is for them and will go to them, that you articulate for them the kinds of timelines you're expecting this project to run into. So you already know that in semester 1 there's, you know, this and Agile 1, and in semester 2 there's Agile 2 and Agile 3. And then you'll go, well, you know some of the breakdown items for the first semester, so what are the likely schedules of those? Do you know when things are due and stuff? So you can document that out in a basic Gantt chart or a table or whatever, just so they get a clear understanding of, as much as possible, the timing of the project.
Sure. Anyone have any questions?
We need maybe we plan the timetable. We need actually to do that for time, or just we can adapt it for our actually project process.
Yeah, you want to adapt it for your particular project. So so there are some generic things that every project will do. If you have more detail as to how it relates to your project, put that detail in as well. So you might say, like, you know, we're having a weekly meeting, and in this first 3 weeks we're actually going to develop this thing, and in the second week we're going to create the art of this, and we're going to, I don't know what it is for your project yet, but if you have detail, add detail.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. More detail is more better.
More detail the better, yeah. That gives you more things to do later, because otherwise you'll have to come back and ask these questions again.
Okay.
Yeah. How's your team going?
Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty good so far? Yeah.
Good communication. Yeah, they've been showing up on time, and
That's really
yeah,
good.
so it's pretty smooth at the moment.
Yeah, it'll get hard,
Yeah.
but it's going to be alright when it gets hard, but that's why we're all going to help each other, and you're going to help me know where areas need attention and things like that.
I think all guys is very reliable.
Oh, that's
We
good.
have designer is initial design is done and show our client, so we get initial design. So amazing too.
Yeah, I'm very pleased. Well, let me know if you need any help throughout. So you will let me know when you want me to have a look at a document, and I'll see you sometime next week. It doesn't have to be everybody, just somebody to show me the stuff and record the responses, so we can take it back and everybody can work on it. So don't worry about coordinating the time, but I will see some or all of you sometime early next week. Okay? And email me at any stage if you have any questions when you're working through the template.
Thank you.
Okay? You're most welcome. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
No worries. I will see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Next week.
You will.